Good morning everyone and welcome to the very first session of the day 2 of TDX. How was your day 1? Enjoyed it? Cool. So welcome to this session on data cloud and end-to-end implementation story. In the next 40 minutes, I'm going to talk about the data cloud, but in terms of how you can implement it through all the various stages of the data cloud. This is not going to be a deep dive, but you'll get a overview of what you can do with the data cloud. How many of you are new to data cloud? You can just raise your hands. Okay, almost most of the people. That's okay. So this story is going to help you understand various phases or stages, how the data is processed on data cloud. I'm Satya Sekhar, a developer advocate with Salesforce, and as part of my role, I motivate developers to build on the Salesforce platform. With that said, forward looking, I might be talking about few of the things which may not be generally available. So if you are planning to make any purchase decisions, please make sure that you base your decisions only on what are generally available. Feedback is very important for us to improve the sessions. So I request you all to share the feedback for every session that you go so that we can understand how the sessions are going and what are the sessions that we can get to you in the next events. This is a overall picture of how data cloud works. Your data as a business your data may be stored in various systems where the data is siloed. Maybe for instance, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, probably you have the information there. If you want to find me on X, you have the information there. So my information itself is stored in various locations. Now, which one is the genuine information? We don't know. So the goal of this data cloud is to bring all of this information from various systems together into one place so that you can create a single source of truth and access that data. So it's going to be one single source of truth. Now, it is 3 steps. One is you'll have to connect to various systems. You'll have to integrate with the systems to get the data. And once you get the data, you are going to process the data, and finally you can use the data. So this processing happens in 3 steps. One is data ingestion, the second step is data harmonization, and the third step is data unification. So let me tell you what is data ingestion. I said you have data in various places, siloed across various systems. Now you want to get all of the data into one system. This process of getting the data into one system is called as data ingestion. So what we are going to do is we are going to integrate that system, and then means we are going to connect to that system and we are going to get the data here. That is the first step. Once you get the data, we are going to clean up the data, clean the data. This process of cleaning the data is called as the harmonization. Now let us say I was talking about my information which is stored in various systems. In each of the systems, the storage structure might be different, the database they are using might be different, the way they store is totally different. So what you need to do is you need to bring all of this data from all of the systems and bring it to some common format. Now let us say my information is stored in 3 different systems. You are going to end up getting 3 different records in different formats that you are going to bring into one single format. Even after that, you have 3 different records. Now you need to bring all of these 3 different records to one single record. This process of bringing it to one single record is called as unification. So that is the unification step. Once you get it into single record, that becomes a single source of truth. Now you can use that record wherever you want. Maybe you want to use it in Apex, maybe you want to use it in Flow, maybe you want to use it with the generative AI, you can do. So this is the whole process of how the data cloud works at a very high level. Let's start with the very first phase, data ingestion. Again, like I said, today I'm going to take you through these phases with a use case. So we'll go with a use case and see how we can do the ingestion, how we can do the harmonization, how we can do the unification, and finally how we can use the data. In the first step, as I said, you'll have to create the connector. You'll have to set up the connector, and once you set up the connector, you'll have to create a data stream. When I say connector, you are going to create a connection between 2 systems, and then you create a stream so that data flows into the data cloud. So that's what we are going to do in the phase 1. So for this, we are going to look at a scenario. I'll take you through one scenario and see how we can use that scenario to get all of that information. So for today's session, I'm going to use an application called Trailblazer Outfitters. So this is a retail aggregator application. When I say retail aggregator application, you can think of it like something like Amazon or some other site which sells some kind of apparels. So this Trailblazer Outfitters has various users who can log into the website and purchase the products, or they can also go to the retail outlets that they have and then purchase the product from there. Now it stores in CRM, Trailblazer Outfitters stores all of the information about the contacts. There are various contacts, it shows all of this information here in the CRM. Likewise, it also stores information about the products that they sell and also any orders, return orders, and most importantly, they also store the information about the retail outlets. There are various retail outlets and they store the information of those outlets as well. This is what we have in this CRM. Now, let's start by getting the contact information. We are going to get all of this information. We are going to get the contact information, product information, and also the store information. We'll start with the contact information. We'll have to create an integration with the Salesforce CRM and get that information. That is the first thing we are going to get. And like I said, I'm getting the information from 3 different systems. The other system from where I want to get information is a public facing website. This Trailblazer Outfitters have a public facing website where customers can log into the website and then purchase the products. Now there are various products. They can go and select a product, look at its description, add to the cart and check out. So this is one place where we store the information about various things for Trailblazer Outfitters. Now we also want to get the information from this website. The first one is CRM, the second one is website. Not only this, I said this Trailblazer Outfitters has various retail stores, and in these retail stores there are point of sales instruments. Now I might also get some information from the point of sales. I want to track from which store maximum number of sales have been done, or I might want to track which specific customer is visiting which store. Now I want to make sure that this customer is satisfied. So if there is a loyal customer who is visiting a specific store many times, probably I can use that information to give some kind of credits to that customer. So that is the third place from where I want to get the information. Now let's see how we can ingest the information from all of these 3 different places. Now, like I said, we are going to do ingestion in 2 steps. The first step is to create a connector, an integration with that system, and then create a data stream so that data flows into the system. Now to do anything on data cloud, you can go to the data cloud setup. You can go to this gear icon in the top right corner. Let me click this. Here you can see data cloud setup. This is where you do any kind of configuration related to data cloud. If you are doing some configuration, you always do it from there. So let me click this. And here on the left side you can see user management, which is definitely not new for us. If you have already worked on the Salesforce platform, you have the user management. Especially when you are working with the data cloud, you might be dealing with the permission sets and other things. So whatever are more important or commonly used, those things are available in the menu here as well in this setup. So you can set the user permission sets. It's the same users, same permission sets that you see in your Salesforce setup as well. Now what's more important here is you can manage the features, various features, and here at the bottom you can see you can create integrations. So there are different types of ways in which you can create integrations. Now integration is one of the complex things that we do when we are building some application. It's not that easy to do an integration, but with data cloud it's made simple for you. You only need to configure the connector and your integration is done. You need not really think about the complexities that are involved while creating that integration. Now, for our case, the first use case where we want to get the information from the Salesforce CRM, we'll have to create a connector. So you can go to the Salesforce CRM here. So it is a Salesforce integration. So go here. And this is where you can create a connector. Now you can go and click on new. Let me click on new. So here you can either connect to a Salesforce org or you can connect to a sandbox. Now you want to integrate with sandbox or org, it's up to you. Now when you select this and click next, it will take you through a screen where you can log in into your Salesforce org, and that is connected. That's it. No other things to be done. In this case, I have already connected my Salesforce org, CRM org, which is called the Salesforce demo. We are going to use this org for our data, to get the data. Now I have created a connector for the Salesforce. Now how do I create a stream? The next step is to create a stream, for which you are going to use the data cloud. Now whatever you have seen is the data cloud configuration or data cloud setup. Now let's see how exactly the data cloud works, and then we'll see how we can create the stream there. Now if you go back to the application, you can launch the data cloud from the app launcher. Let's go and click the app launcher, and let us say data cloud here. You can launch the data cloud from here, and it looks like any other Salesforce application, nothing so fancy. So you can see different tabs here. Each tab is created for a specific functionality or a specific feature. For instance, if I want to create a data stream, I'm going to go into the data stream tab, and this is where I'm going to create the streams. Likewise, if I'm doing a harmonization, I'll go to the data model phase. Or if I want to look at the data, I'll go to the data explorer tab. So these are the different tabs. Each tab provides a specific feature for you to work with. Now let's go and click on the data stream, because we want to create the data stream here. So here you can go and click on new, wherein you can see different options like ingestion, API, Salesforce CRM, website. In our case, I want to integrate with the Salesforce CRM, so I can click on Salesforce CRM, and then I can click on next. And here is where I can select bundles. For instance, if I want to get the information from a set of objects related to sales, then I have a bundle called Sales Cloud bundle. Similarly, I have Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud. I have bundles wherein there are a set of objects related to Sales Cloud or Service Cloud. I can get information from all of those objects. Or I can also, like for instance, so if you see the data bundles, these are the different data bundles that are available. I can pick from service, sales, whatever. Or I can also pick individual objects by going to the all objects and selecting one of the object from there. In our case, I want to get the information from the contact object. So what I've done is I've already created this stream. So the only step that is left is click next and done. So let me close this. So I created a stream called contact home. This is the stream that is created. When the stream is created, it is going to create a specific object called data lake object. Now you are getting the information from some other system which is heterogeneous. So you are getting all of that information. What you are going to do is, as a first step, you are going to dump into one common object. That object is called as the data lake object. You just dump all of that information into the data lake object. So when you create the stream, it is going to create a data lake object for you. Now for Salesforce information, we have created a stream. Similarly, we can create streams for the information. For instance, we want to get the information from the website. You can create a connector and the stream. It is little different. Now when we go to the setup once again, so here we have used the Salesforce CRM. Now if I want to get the information from the website, I am going to use an external integration here. In the external integration, we have something called as websites and mobile apps. This is where you can go and create a new connector. Give some connector name, whatever name you want to give. For instance, in our case, we might say Trailblazer Outfitters public facing website. You can give some name for the connector, and then you can choose between mobile app or website. If you are getting the information from a mobile app or getting the information from a website. In our case, we are getting it from the website. Once you select this, click save, and it's going to save. And it looks like something like this. When I open this, here you can upload. Let me do one thing. Let me go and create a new connector. Let's call it as demo connector so that you understand what we are going to do there. Now let me refresh this. So when I say new, let us give some name here, demo, and save. Now here you can upload a schema. So you can upload a schema where you can select a schema file and put it there. Now there are different ways in which you can get the data. One is the Salesforce CRM integration itself, the other one is web SDK. In case of websites we are going to use a SDK. There is a SDK that is provided that you can directly use. Similarly, you can also get the information from the physical devices, real time information from the embedded devices using something called as ingestion API. So in this case we want to use a web SDK for which we are going to define a schema. Now how does this schema look like? It can be put in a JSON format. So if you see here, so I want to get the cart information. Let us say I have a cart. Within cart I have category, date time, device ID. There are different attributes that I want to get information about. So this is, we will define a JSON file here and then upload a JSON file in this data structure into the website by clicking this upload files. Now in our case, like I said, I have already created uploaded the file, and once you upload the file, it looks once you upload the file, your schema looks something like this. You can see the different objects that are provided. You can also go and view full schema and see what are the different properties that you got for each of these objects. I just uploaded a JSON file and I got the objects and the related fields. And then it is going to create a small script link for you. You can just embed this script link in your website wherever you want to embed it. Maybe you are using an Experience Cloud site, or maybe you are using your own built website, or maybe you are using a LWR site. So you can just copy this URL from here and then you can put it in your website and then it is connected. So that's how the connection is created. In our case, so what I have done is I am using a LWR website. So this is a main.ngk. This is something like your index.html file. And within that file I have just put in the script here. So I just copied that script and I put in the script in the file and the connection is established for me. So this is how I get the information from the website. Now how do I get the information from the physical devices? Like I said again, you can use, instead of websites and mobile apps for website, you can use the ingestion API. So you can go and click on ingestion API and the steps are pretty similar to what you did for the website. You can go and click new and give a name for the connector and you are done. And then once you create the connector, you are going to upload a schema just like you have done for the web SDK. The only difference is there you have uploaded the schema in the JSON format. Here for ingestion API, you can upload the schema in a YAML format. YAML looks much simpler. Now if I go and open this YAML file, so this is how it looks like. I am defining a schema here and this schema is all about the POS device. So whenever a POS order is generated, whenever an order is generated from point of sales device, this is the information that I am expecting from that device. So I just defined this structure and uploaded this structure and the connector is created. Now we have created 3 connectors for our CRM, website and the physical device. Now the next step is to create the streams. I have already created a stream for the CRM. Now we want to create a stream for the website. I can do that. So like we did before, you can click on the new button. This time instead of the Salesforce CRM, you would choose website and then click next and your stream will be created. Likewise for ingestion API, click ingestion API and click next, your stream will be created. So you can select which particular data you want to ingest and your stream is created. Now you have created the connector and you have created the stream. So whatever data flows in, this data will be dumped into a data lake object. Now you can go here and see the data lake object. You have data lake object for your contact information. Like here, I have data lake object for contact information. So if I go and open it, you can see various fields that you get from the contact record, the Salesforce contact record. You have various fields here. Likewise, if you open the stream for the website or if you open the stream for the ingestion, you have similar kind of records there. Now, like I said, you are getting the data in different formats. Now you will have to bring it to one common format. So that is what we are going to do in our step 2. Here we got the data from CRM, we got the data from public website, we got the data from IoT data. We will look at the legacy documents little later towards the end of the session. I will tell you how you can get the data from some kind of legacy documents. When I say legacy documents, it's all about the documents that might be stored in PDF formats, maybe images, maybe audio recordings, video recordings. You can get all of that data into a data cloud as well. So we will see that little later, but let us see how we do the harmonization. Now that we have information in the data lake object, now we are going to do something called as data modeling, where we are going to map the fields from the data lake object to a common format, some common database structure, which is called as customer 360 data model. Salesforce provides an out of the box data model for you. You can map from any of the external data models or databases to this common data model, which is called as customer 360 data model. And this process is called as data harmonization, where you are going to map that information to this model, and then also you are going to define the relationships between those objects. So that is what you do in the data harmonization. Let us see it here. Now I have a contact, let us take the contact here. Now I am in the data lake objects at the moment. So I went to the contact home. So I have the contact information here, and on the right side you can see something called as data mapping. This is where I can do the data mapping. When I go and click, now you are seeing review because I have already created a mapping there. If you are doing this mapping for the very first time, you would see a new button there. You click that new button and do the mapping. Now how do you do that mapping? Let me open it and show you how I have done it. So if you go here and look at the review, here you can see on the left side you have the data lake objects. So the contact home, all of this information you got from the CRM. On the right side, if you see, there are different objects. These are the data model objects. One is account contact, the other one is contact point address. So when you look at the contact, there are different things that you store. So you store all of these things in contact points. You store the address separately, you store the phone separately, so on and so forth. Like here you can see all the address related information going to the contact point address, and all the email related information goes into contact point email data model objects. So these are the standard data model objects that are provided out of the box. But what if when you do not have any data model object to which you can map this information? If there is no existing data model object, in that case you can also create your own custom data model object with the fields, whatever fields you want, and do the mapping there. Now how do you map? You just select one thing from here and then map, click this, the mapping will be created. So this is the mapping that is created between the two objects, and it all can be done graphically just by clicking the buttons. Now that you have done this mapping, let us see how the data model looks like. I said you are going to create the mapping, and then you are also going to establish the relationship between the data model objects. Now when I go to the data model tab, here is where I can see the different objects. These are the different data model objects, and one of the important object I want you to look at is the individual object. This is the object wherein you are going to create a single source of truth, that information about your customer. So maybe it's from your Salesforce CRM contact. For instance, in CRM contact you refer to the customer with first name and last name. Maybe you use some other system, you might refer to the customer as first name and surname. So both are surname and last name, both are same. So you get that information from various things, and then all of this is stored in the individual object here. Now you can also look into the relationships. You can go to each of these objects, open that object and see what are the different related objects. That's one way of looking at it, but the easiest way is to look at it graphically. Now you go here and click on graph. You can see all of this information. Like here you can see the individual is related to contact point address. You can see it is related with a one-to-many relationship. Likewise, it is related to various objects like POS data. You are getting the POS information when the customer goes and purchases something on the in a retail store. That information we get it from the POS, and it is related to the individual object here. So the same customer information. So you can look at all of this information graphically here, and with this we have finished the step of data harmonization. In data ingestion we got the data in different formats, then in data harmonization we brought it to single format, then like I said we ended up with 3 different customer records from 3 different sources. Now the next step is to unify that data. This can be done by using something called as identity resolution. So you can do an identity resolution. Let me show you here. Now that you have the data here in the model, these are the different objects that you have, and you can look at the data. For instance, I want to go to the contact object and look our individual object and look the information. Let me go to Data Explorer. This is the place where you can look into any of the information that comes into a data cloud. Maybe you want to look at the contact information, that is the individual information, or maybe you want to look at some insights. All of this, whenever you want to look at the data, can come to the Data Explorer, and here is where you can look at the data. In our case, let us do one thing. Let's go and click Data Model Object, and I want to look at the individual information. So here I have individual, and here you can see I got information from various sources, and then if you get the information from different sources, you might end up getting information like 2 all-mirror records. In this case I've done only once, so I got 1 record, but there might be, for instance, look at Howard. So I have Howard, I got information from contact, and I also got information from Trailblazer Outfitters. So I got this information from 2 different places, the same record. Now I can do the identity resolution, that is I can unify the data using something called as identity resolutions. This is where you can define some rules on how to combine these 2 different records, 2 Howard records into 1 single record. So that you can do by defining a set of rules here. So when you can go and click on new and create a new rule, but I have already created a rule here. If I go in there, this rule is called as fuzzy name and normalized email. So when I go and click on that rule, so there are different options that I can use. So here I have used the fuzzy name and normalized email. I can combine the records based on the name and email, or I can combine the record based on name and phone number. So whatever is best matching, I can combine. For instance, let us say my name is Satya, which is generally written as SATYA. Some people might write it as SATHYA. Both are same, both refers to the same person, right? So this fuzzy name logic matching is, if there is Satya and another Satya, it's going to match on that basis. And you can also control the precision to what extent these records are to be matched. And not just that, so once you combine those records, now you identify 2 records with the same name, you got the 2 records. Now how do you combine the fields? For that you use something called as reconciliation rules. For each of the fields, you can define whether you want to combine it using any of these things. Now you want to check if it is most frequently used record, or it's a source priority, there is a specific source which is more trusted than other source, then probably you will select that record. So you can control at the level of fields on how to combine the records. Now you combine the records, you get a single source of truth. If you go back to the, now I defined this rule with some ID number. If you look here, I given some rule set ID called IN01. Once I run the rule set, once I apply this rule set, so I can run the rule set from here. Once I run the rule set, it is going to combine it into 1 single record, wherein I can go to the data model object and check. Let me go again, search for individual, but this time I want to look at the record which is unified. Now once the rule set is applied, it is going to store in a format called unified format. Now I applied rule number IN01, and if I go here and search for the records, this time you can see that I have only 1 Harvard record. Okay, there should be some, yeah, there is 1 Harvard record at the bottom here. So this is only 1 record. Now 2 records are combined into 1 record with this process of unification. Okay. Now, you have done all of these steps. Now, you got a very clean, harmonized, unified, single record. Now, you can use this record wherever you want. This process of using the record, we can call it as activating the data. Maybe you want to use it in flow, maybe you want to use it in Apex, or maybe you want to use it in generative AI, you can do that. There are various features called, like if you want to look at the insights, you want to create a report, you can create insights out of the data. Right? In data cloud terminology, it is called as calculated insights, because we are going to calculate those insights and use those insights. Now, let us see how you can use it with the generative AI. I have a use case here. I want to create a proactive promotional email with a discount based on browsing history. Now, let us say a customer is on your website, he is clicking various components there. Now, you want to see which specific component he is browsing a lot. For instance, when I go and purchase on Amazon, I keep, at least I do a research for 2 or 3 days, I go through various products, and probably I keep on coming back to one product repeatedly, which makes sense that I am interested to purchase that product. So, if I get a discount at that point in time, I will be happy to purchase that product. So, what we can do is, based on the customer's interaction, you can create a email. So, what we are going to do here is, for this example, you can use a feature of data cloud called data graphs, wherein data graph is a graphical representation of the data, whatever data you get. So, all of the data can be stored in a graphical format. Now, here you can see I am storing the information about this individual. So, I am storing the how he is browsing. So, here I am storing the browsing information. I can also store the information about how he is visiting the store, so on and so forth. So, all of this information can be put in a graphical format here. What it does is, it creates a JSON structure for you. Now, when I go and preview that, you can see that when I put it in the graphical format. So, how do I put it in the graphical format? It is pretty simple. You go and click on new product browse graph and select one of the components, and then you can keep selecting the other components here, and it creates a JSON file for you. So, what is the benefit of JSON file is, when you are getting the data from various sources, it is going to store in one common JSON structure. It is going to pre-populate all of the data so that it can easily access it. Maybe you want to create an insight, you can directly use that from that particular JSON file. Now, let me show how the data looks like. So, now that we have created JSON, let me go to the data explorer once again, and let me, here you can see data graph. When you go here, you can go and select the product browse graph. Now, here you have various JSON files. This is the one which I recently ran. Now, if you look here, I am getting the information, right? I am getting the information of the All Miller, and I am getting the information from the how he is browsing, various clicks and all. So, these are the different informations related to the Al Miller. For instance, here if you see, you can see the product browse engagement information. So, whatever he is clicking, how we are getting all of that information here, that you can see here. Now, what I am going to do is, I am going to use this data graph in my generative AI. Now, let us see how we can use it in the generative AI and automatically create an email. So, how many of you use the prompt builder? Anyone here who use prompt builder? Yeah, cool. Now, let us go and see how we can use it in the prompt builder. So, I can open the prompt builder from setup. Maybe I can search for prompt builder, I can open the prompt builder. I have already created a specific prompt template called product browse email. So, here if you look at this, I am giving the context. So, this is the prompt builder tool where you can write your prompt or query here, just like you do in your ChatGPT. The only difference here is you are grounding it with the data. So, you can use this data from your CRM or from your data cloud or from anywhere. Now, here in this prompt, I am using the data from the data graph. Now, here you can see the resources. Like I said, you can get the data from Flow, Apex or anywhere. In this case, I am getting the data from the data graph. So, I can go to recipient and go down here. So, I can get the information about a specific individual from the data graph that we have just created. So, we are using the data graph here, and then you can use this in your email. Let me go and test it with one of the users. Let me search for Al Miller, whosoever, and create preview. And once you run and test it, and you can directly go and use it in your CRM application. Now, you can see that it has nicely created a email with a 20% discount. So, these are the instructions I have given for this customer, give a 20% discount in my prompt here. Now, this is one use case. The other use case is I want to conversationally identify a store. So, instead of I said top selling store, but I want to see how a specific customer is visiting a store. I want to see the trend, which store he is visiting most. For that, what I can do is I can use a calculated insight. So, basically I can create a calculated insight, and then I can invoke the calculated insight from my Apex class. Let us first see how we can create a calculated insight. Now, let me go back to the data cloud. So, I am in data cloud. So, here we have a tab called calculated insights. Let me go click it, and here is where you can create a new insight. Again, when you create the insight, you can create the insight using a visual builder. Just drag and drop the components to create a kind of database table and create an insight, or you can write a SQL expression, structured query language expression. So, I have already written and created insight wherein I want to get sales by store for a specific customer, and here what it does is I have used the builder here. So, if you look at the builder, I have dragged and dropped the components. So, I have a component called POS data, which I am getting from the POS device. Again, I can use an ingestion API. How many of you attended keynote yesterday? Right. So, in keynote it was announced that data cloud is now available for the developers. Now, as a developer, you can start using it. You need not really go and wait for the credits, all of that stuff. You can go and use it, and you can you can get up to 10 GB data there. So, at least you can do your POCs, at least a couple of POCs before you actually implement it in your organization. So, when you work on these things, how do you simulate few of the things? So, I showed how to get the information from the Web SDK, but just by copying the script link there. You can also use the Postman API. We have an API, Postman API for the data cloud specifically, where you can connect to that API and simulate as if a device is sending the information to the data cloud. Now, in this case, I can simulate this information. I can say send. It sends the information, it says accepted true here, which means the information is sent to my data cloud, and that information is stored there. So, in my case, the POS information is stored in the data cloud, and that data I am using in my calculated insight. I am getting the POS information from there, and I am getting the retail outlet information from my Salesforce CRM. I am joining these two tables and creating an aggregate out of it, and see how it works. Now, I have created an agent wherein I have used this calculated insight. Like I said, you can write an Apex class in which you can invoke the calculated insight, create it as an action, and add it to a agent. Once you add it to the agent, you can, maybe I want to ask the agent, let me go to my application somewhere. Let me open the, let me open the application. And here I can launch the agent. Looks like my agent is not active. Let me go and activate my agent. Let us go back, refresh. Okay, so it is not activated, that's absolutely fine. Here is where you can run the query something like which store Al Miller goes most frequently. It is going to get all of that information to you based on the calculated insight. For instance, you can go and again check in the data explorer how you get that information. You can go to the data explorer, and if you go here and check at the go calculated insight, you can select the insight that you have created, and here you can see the information about how many times this customer visited each of the stores. For instance, he has visited Union Square for 5 times. So this is how you get the data from the various sources and process the data and then use it in your agents. And one last thing before I close is I told that there is a different way of getting the information from the legacy documents, the unstructured documents. Now most of the organizations, if you see some old institutes, most of the institutes store the information in the PDF format or image format, or maybe you have some audio recordings from call centers, so on and so forth. There is a lot of unstructured data that you have to deal with. So how do you do that? Now in the case of unstructured data, the process is little different. Here we are going to get the data, all of the data. For instance, let me take an example. Let us say I have a PDF document. Now I cannot store the PDF document in the form of a table. So for structured data, everything can be stored in the form of a table. For instance, CRM data can be stored in the form of a table, not the PDF document or your audio recording. So what you can do here is you can divide that data into some meaningful information, which is called as chunks. You divide it into various chunks, and for each chunk you give a numerical number to uniquely identify those chunks. This process is called as indexing. So what you do is, once you get the data, you process the data, you ingest the data, you create the data strips like you do for the structured data, and then you create the you also map the DMOs, and the only different step here is you are going to vectorize the data, where you are going to create a search index, which is going to create a chunk, and then which is going to create a chunk and an index to identify those chunk. This is the step 1 that you are going to do, and step 2 is where you are going to create a retriever. So Data Cloud automatically creates a retriever for you. You can use that retriever directly in your Agentforce. So what this retriever does is, it goes use that index, finds the appropriate chunk whenever you search, and get that chunk back to you. And all of this can be done today very easily using something called as Instant Data Library, or in fact it's a little older slide, it should be called as Agentforce Data Library. Now it is Agentforce Data Library. You can use Agentforce Data Library to create those chunks automatically. You need not really worry about what are chunks, what is indexing, how it's all going to work. The only thing you need to do is go to setup, let me go to setup and say Agentforce Data Library, and this is where you create a new library. Click create new library, give some name, API name and description, and save it. After that you can upload the data. Now if you look at this library which I have already created, wherein I am storing the information about Trailblazer Outfitters valet services policy. Now there are various retail stores. At those retail stores we have some valet services. Now it wants to keep track of all of those things. So there is a document, a PDF document which specifies what are the valet service policies. So I just uploaded the document here. I clicked upload and uploaded the document. Now once the document is uploaded, and directly go to your agent builder, and in agent builder you can click on there is something called as knowledge on the left side, click knowledge, and then here you can select the data library that you have just created. In this case I am using some PDF document, and the PDF document looks something like this. I have this PDF document, valet services policy. I just uploaded this document where I have hours of operation, so on and so forth. Now in the agent builder I can select that, and yeah, you can see the document here. Now I can go and I can say what is the cost of valet parking. I ask some random question. Hopefully this works. So what it is going to do is, it is going to go verify your PDF document. It is going to get the PDF document. It's going to chunk it, and then it is going to embed that document in your prompt, and then it's going to get the response from there. It shows the information. All of this summarized information I am getting from the PDF document. It says short-term parking up to 4 hours is $15. Okay. So now you can work with both structured data as well as unstructured data using the data cloud. Here are a set of resources if you want to go get started with the data cloud, or you want to deep dive into the data cloud. I have provided a couple of videos from the Salesforce Developers YouTube channel. You can follow those videos. We keep on posting those videos. Whatever new features that come, we add those features to this Salesforce Developers YouTube channel. Okay. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging around. You can just reach me out. I'll be very happy to answer any of your questions. With that, thanks a lot for attending this session. Thank you.